Hi, my name is Genevieve Siegel-Hawley. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Educational Leadership at VCU. I'm going to talk a little bit today about different ways school leaders can design student assignment policies and school choice policies in ways that promote diversity and avoid racial isolation. I have a personal connection to issues of segregation. I am a proud graduate of Richmond Public Schools, and I also came back and taught in Richmond Public Schools at John Marshall for a couple of years. And I really saw firsthand how segregation affects students' lives. We don't talk about it very much anymore, but today's school segregation is worse than it was in 1968 when Dr. King was assassinated. Most of our education reform policies are focused on ways to make separate schools equal, but we haven't really figured out a way to scale that up in a systematic way. On the 60th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education, I'm arguing today for us to return our attention to issues of segregation and think creatively about ways to promote desegregation in the 21st century. But when I'm thinking about real-world examples of school districts that are doing innovative things to promote diversity, I turn to a network of civil rights organizations and think tanks that are sort of gathered together under the heading the National Coalition on School Diversity. And they have a new website that you can access if you Google National Coalition on School Diversity. I also draw on maps. I think maps are a very powerful visual way of showing people what segregation looks like in their own communities and schools. And it also helps them see what other communities and schools look like, showing them what's possible. So there are a couple of good places to go for maps. The New York Times has a great interactive mapping tool based on Census 2010 data. UVA's Weldon Center also has a racial dot map that you can zoom into your local area and see where every person lives by race. It's very powerful. And last, I go to these manuals that were jointly produced by the Civil Rights Project at UCLA, where I'm a research associate, and also the NAACP Legal and Defense Fund. And they are manuals for people interested in promoting voluntary school integration in their areas. They offer real-world examples from school districts around the country that are doing very creative things to promote school diversity. And they also lay out the legal and political context for voluntary efforts. When it comes to redesigning your student assignment policies or rezoning attendance boundaries, it's really important to understand what's legal and what's illegal. But there are different ways to promote diversity, nevertheless. In Louisville, Jefferson County, Kentucky, for example, the district considers the underlying demographics of its neighborhoods to include the racial and socioeconomic makeup of each neighborhood. They make sure that each school has a mixture of students from different kinds of neighborhoods. It's also really important to remember that it's still illegal to intentionally segregate students on the basis of race when you're redrawing your attendance boundaries. When it comes to school choice, which is growing in popularity, districts often forget about some key civil rights dimensions that help all students access schools of choice. These include basic considerations like making sure that all families know about their options, which in some cases might involve disseminating materials in multiple languages. This also involves making sure that all kids can get to their school of choice. Providing free and easy-to-use transportation is really critical. And it also means designing admissions and enrollment procedures in a way that parents understand what they need to do in order for their child to enroll in the school. Not setting up artificial barriers to entrance that would exclude otherwise qualified students is really important. Some schools of choice have recently begun requiring parental commitment for certain numbers of hours per week. And that really disadvantages students who might have a parent working multiple jobs. So districts need to think hard about the different requirements that are embedded in their school choice framework. So I've got two relatively recent and handy resources for school leaders who are thinking about developing new student assignment policies or new school choice policies. One is a book by Gary Orfield and Erica Frankenberg called Educational Delusions. It's about school choice and what districts can do to make it fair. And the other is a set of guidelines issued by the Department of Justice and the Department of Education in 2011 that walk districts through the legal context for voluntary school integration efforts today, and also offer really concrete examples of what is legal and what is not legal when developing student assignment policies.